Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, quick sound check. Can you see me and can you hear me? If you can, please tell me in the comments that our video and our sound are working. And besides that, then I get to see everybody say hi. So yes and yes. Fantastic. Welcome, 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 everybody. My name is Ann Washburn, and I welcome you tonight to our webinar titled Miracle-ology. Isn't that a fun name? I'm so excited about that because this is something that I've been thinking about recently, is how miracles play out in our life. And where it started was that I was at the airport a couple of months ago, and it was one of those experiences where it seemed like everything was going wrong. Have you ever had those? If you've had those, let's just test this out. Click the raise the hand button so I know you know what I'm talking about. That you've had those days where it just seemed like everything was going wrong, right? I have had those kind of days. Have you? Oh, yeah, there goes all the hands right there. Yeah, we so have, right? And what happens is we end up with a choice. On those days when things just seem to be going wrong, we have a choice. And the choice is not in the events themselves, but it's in our responses to those events. And how we respond to those events actually has a big bearing on what happens next. What happens next? And so as we're going through this experience, it was like we couldn't get out of the house on time. And then when we got out of the house, then we missed the exit. And when we missed the exit, then we got to the airport and we had these big bags that we had to unload because we were going to this event where we had to take 3 really big bags. I mean, big bags. They barely met the not being oversized for the airport rules. So they were heavy, they were big, and we had 3 of them. And when we got to the airport, we only had 1 hour. We had less than an hour till our plane took off. And so we get to the curb, and of course, you know, they're patrolling the curb and you can't wait there more than just getting your bags out of the car. And one of us had to go take the car to the park and wait. And one of us had to take the bags in and get them checked in. And so I was voted to go park the car, and my husband was taking the bags in. Well, by the time he gets these heavy bags up to the checkout place, it is 45 minutes before our flight. And the lady said, you have to have the bags checked by 40 minutes before the flight, or we won't take them. We won't take them. So we've got these problems. We've gotten to the airport just barely by the skin of our teeth. And we've missed exits and things. And now we've got these heavy bags to carry in, and we don't know how we're going to get the bags in. And the curbside check-in isn't open, so we can't do it there. And the bags have to be in by 40 minutes before, and now it's 45. And one of them has to go under my name. And turns out I don't have a ticket. We couldn't figure out why I couldn't check in for my flight. Turns out that my husband had accidentally booked the ticket for the previous day. And so I didn't even have a ticket. Meanwhile, I'm over at the park and wait, parking the car, and I parked it conveniently at the last bus stop. So I got in the bus at the last bus stop. And as he's pulling away from the stop, I realized I'd left my ID in the car. And I'm like, oh, please, can I get off the bus? And he's like, no, I can't. I'm sorry, it's against the rules. You're going to have to go all the way around. And I'm like, but I don't have time. I've got to be at the gate 20 minutes before the flight, or I won't be on my flight. And now there's only 40 minutes at this point. And so it's like to take a full loop and then still get to my gate. It's not going to happen. Anybody ever had a day like that? Whoa! Where it's just like, really? And then thing after thing after thing after thing after thing goes wrong. Raise your hand if you've ever had that, right? We totally have that. And yeah, right? Look, there's at least a few of us that, yeah, you've experienced that before, right? Yeah, that raise the hand button is really fun because that's one of that, and the chat box is where you and I get to interact during this webinar tonight. So get used to where that raise the hand button is. If you're on YouTube, you can put it in the comments, but that's how we get to interact tonight. So welcome to Zoomland and welcome to all of YouTube, because I had this experience, and what I'm going to tell you that happened opened my eyes to what miracles are. It opened my eyes to it. And so I'm going to explain that to you tonight. And me as an engineer, because my background is I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I've worked in flight simulation and explosives. So as an engineer, I love to put together how things work. I'm always watching the world for how do things connect? How do they go together? And so I watched this whole experience, and how it played out was nothing less than miraculous. It was beautiful, and it was there to teach me how things work. And since then, I've taught this to my breakthrough coaching. I've taught it to my personal mentees, and it has been eye-opening for all of them. The feedback I've gotten has been off the charts, off the charts. And so I want to share those things with you tonight. So thank you for making the smart choice of joining me right here online tonight. So just help me out. Take your hand and pat yourself on the back and say, man, I'm pretty smart. You are. Come on, really do it. Come on, raise your hand or put your hand, pat yourself on the back. I'm really smart. You are. You are really smart. You are not only smart, but you are meant to influence other people, to that intelligence, that level of being right. Thank you, Jane. She says, I am pretty smart. Yes, you are. And that level of intelligence that we have is meant when we have these ahas, okay? When we have these epiphanies, they're not meant just for us. We live on a social planet. And so the epiphanies and the ahas that we have are meant to be shared. They're meant to benefit people around us. They're meant to benefit others. So they're meant to benefit our family or our neighbors or the people close to us. They're not just for us. And I know that. So when I have an experience like this, I know it's because I'm supposed to share it with other people. And so if you are the person that wants me to share it with them, then you're in the right place at the right time. So thank you for joining me at this beautiful Thursday evening. I even have light that's coming in my window here that is going to slowly turn into a sunset. So we'll get to enjoy that while we go through this webinar tonight. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for patting yourself on the back. Thank you for being here. So I am going to share my screen with you because I've prepared slides tonight to tell this story, to explain to you what's going on in our world and why it matters and why you being here tonight matters. So let me get all of my buttons up here so that I can see them. Okay, there we go. I can see you. I can see your comments. Yeah, and I would love to hear where you're from. So in the comments, in the chat, if you just tell me where you're watching from, I would love to see that. Because one of the things that I love about our world right now is that we can join from all over the world. And so I love it. Hello to John from Texas and Megan from Arizona, Joanne from Salt Lake City, Cindy from El Paso, Lana from Provo, Rebecca from New Mexico. Welcome, welcome to everybody. That's so fun that you're all here. Okay, cool. Roosevelt, Utah, Texas, Casper, Wyoming, Weiser, Idaho, Weiser, Idaho. Sorry, I love Idaho. I grew up in Idaho. Love it. Vancouver, Washington. Catherine from Midvale. Welcome to all of you. I'm so glad you're here. And one more button I need there. Oh, Grants Pass, Oregon. Love it. Welcome, Wanda. All right, so tonight we've titled this Miracle-ology. Miracle-ology because there is a science to miracles. So me as an engineer, I love to see how things fit together. But me as a mentor and a trainer, so for the last 11 years, I have delved into psychology. I want to know not just how my world works, I want to know how I work. So I'm gonna say that one more time. I want to know not just how my world works, I want to know how I work. And I know that for me, I understand better how things work when I'm sharing it with others. And so being a mentor and a trainer was a natural progression for me from engineering to being a speaker and a mentor, because as an engineer, I have a unique ability to connect things, to make connections, to be able to see how things work. And I wanted to use that superpower not only to understand body language, but to understand me, to understand my thinking, my feeling, my actions. Because we all are here to take action. We all have a brain. Then there's some things that we truly understand about how that brain works, and there's others that we don't. And we all have a heart. We have a feeling center. And there's things that we truly understand about that feeling center, and there's things that we don't. And we all have to take action in our lives. And there's things that we understand about motivation and desire and action, and there's things that we don't. But the things that we do know, when we look at them at a deeper level, we're going to be able to uncover the next layer and the next and the next. That's how we've gotten to where we know so much about all of these, our mindset, our emotion set, and our action set. Because when it comes to getting a result, we have to work and protect all the parts of the equation. We've got to protect our mindset, our emotion set, our action set, and then we get the result that we're looking for. And we as humans, on this planet, people are still getting their goals, even though we have crazy in our world. Would you guys agree with me? Have you seen any crazy? All you have to do is turn on the news or turn on the internet or turn on anything online, and we see the crazy. There's a lot of negative going on in our world right now. There's very unsettling things is what I would call them. And so I really like this quote from Ender's Game. Ender's Game is a book by Orson Scott Card. Have any of you ever read that? Raise your hand if you've read that, because I have two quotes that I'm going to share from that book tonight. It's a science fiction book. It's really fun. But this is the first one. In Ender's Game, he says, there are times when the world is rearranging itself. And at times like that, the right words can change the world. Yeah, the book or the movie. It was also made into a movie, Lana. You're absolutely right. And so I love this quote, because when there's chaos around us, it's actually an opportunity. And the opportunity is that the chaos means that things are rearranging themselves. There's chaos in politics, in world events, in natural disasters, in accidents like different businesses burning down, in supply chain issues, in our health. There's chaos in a lot of areas right now, more than ever in history, which is fascinating, which to me says that, yes, Christina says, I agree about the negative conversation around me, even when I'm not thinking negative. Yep. It's bombarded. It's being spread everywhere. If you think about it, our phones, our cell phones, they pick up signals, and those signals that are coming to the phone are coming through me as well. The fact that we're on the computer, I'm here on the computer, my picture goes into my computer, and then it goes out into the air so that you can pick it up on your device. There's a lot of things in the air. So what we want is to be the people that increase the positive. Because if the messages are going to be out there anyway, we want to be somebody that is participating in the positive messages. We're needed. We don't just sit back and hide. We need to be the ones that are personally working on ourselves, working on our own mindset, our own emotions, and taking action. Because if we hunker down and hide, then the negative and the chaos around us, it picks up momentum and it grows. And this is a world that one of the physical laws of our planet is opposition. Opposition is one of the physical laws that governs this planet. And since it does, that means that we can, that law, opposition states that there's a good and a bad to everything. And so if there's chaos around us, we have a chance to step up and be more of that good. You felt it, haven't you? It's probably one of the reasons that you joined this webinar tonight is you felt that. You're like, you know what? I need to be part of the good. Yeah, Dawn says, be the good. We gotta be part of that good in the world. But that means if we choose to step into being good, there's opposition that comes to us that we need to understand better. We need to understand that. And we need to be people who are setting goals and accomplishing goals. People are still doing that. And we're very grateful. Yes, no more hiding. I need to be part of the good. And so in our Miracle-ology class tonight, we're looking at, Miracle-ology matters because I need to be the designer of my life, not just the consumer of it. So if you're with me, raise your hand, click the raise the hand button, say, oh yeah, I want to design my life, not just consume it. Because my life is going to happen. It will run out. It will run out. You know, I lost my mom 3 years ago to cancer. And it was such a shock to me the day after I lost her, because I was like, why is the world still going on as usual? Don't they realize my mom is gone? And it was this big smack in the face going, oh my gosh, when I leave the planet, the world will go on too. The world continues. And so I want to do all I can of designing my life while I have my time to do it. I want to do it now. That means I can't keep waiting. It's one of the deceptions on this planet. One of the believable deceptions is that I'll have more time. I'll always have more time. But you know what? We don't. I just got off of a mentoring appointment right before this webinar, where I was talking to one of my mentees, and her next door neighbor, had just retired in January. He just retired in January. And last week, he very active person going out and hiking, very healthy, very health conscious. He fell and hit his head and caused a hemorrhage in his brain that killed him. And he's gone. I'll bet you he didn't think that he was going to only have 4 months of retirement, but that's what he got. We don't know. So we need to treat our time as precious. And how do we treat it as precious? That's the thing that we aren't always clear on. One of the most important ways that we treat our time as precious is by taking care of these parts of our equation: the mindset, the emotion set, and the action set. So now, let me lower the hands. By raise of hands, who has attended a class or a webinar from me in the past? Raise your hands so I can see what kind of percentage we have. Okay, it looks like about a third of you. Well, welcome everybody who's new, that has never been on a webinar with me before. Welcome. My name is Ann Washburn. Like I said, I am a mentor, I'm a trainer, I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a body language expert. I have been on TV and interviewed on all kinds of different platforms. And I've also taught classes and presentations, thousands of them, over the last 11 years. And those of you that have heard me before, the things I'm going to show you tonight, I have never shown anybody before. You haven't seen them. So buckle up, get a pen and a paper so that you can take notes. And get ready to look at things a new way tonight. Look at things a new way, because we're here to be the designers of our life. Your future you will thank you for taking this step, to design your own life. So what I'm going to ask from you because this is a free webinar, but I do have what's the word? Not a demand, but a request. There's the word. I have a request of you. I'm going to ask you to be willing to look at and see things differently. I'm going to show you things and tell them to you in ways you haven't considered them before. So please be willing to look at and see things differently. But part of looking and seeing things differently is also being willing to commit to a new action. Because it's not enough to learn something new. We also have to do something different. Because new knowledge has an expiration date. Without new action, usually about 72 hours, the knowledge will expire and have to be relearned. It doesn't mean you have to take a perfect step. It doesn't even mean you have to take all of the steps. But it does mean that I'm going to ask that while you're listening tonight, you think about what is the new step you're going to take. The new step in a new direction. Because if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. And if you want better, you've got to do new. If you think what you've always thought, you will get what you've always got. If you feel what you've always felt, you'll get what you've always got. We need to think about, feel about, and do things differently. Right, Brittany? That's a great quote. So we've got to get out of what we've always done. Einstein is credited with saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting a different result. So if you want a new result, do something different. So I'm going to ask for a commitment. So please, by raise of hands, are you willing to open your mind to looking at things differently and pick a new action? Please raise your hand. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. I'm so glad that you're willing to do that. So if you stay till the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you one of my favorite brain priming tools. Okay. That'll be for the people, just because this is prime time. Thursday evening, I know you're taking time out of your busy life, and I value that. And so those of you who stay till the end, I will give you a free gift. Do you like gifts? I like gifts. And I want you to consider this. There are powerful upgrades that come in our life from learning the science of miracles. Some of the things are you'll feel happier. You'll be able to access new levels, stop self-sabotage, improve relationships. Do you have any relationship that you wish was better in your life? You are a part of that relationship. And so if we help you improve, your relationship will follow. It has to, because that you're a part of that relationship. You'll make room for what you'll want. You have more freedom. Tammy, I require all on this list. I love it. And increase your field of influence. You are all influential, whether you're in a field of influence or you're just a member of this planet. You have influence. You have influence, and your influence matters. So these are some of the opportunities that we have by understanding miracles better. So really quick, I love it. Jane says, I want it all. Woohoo! Good. Then if you're in, let's move forward. So really quick, here's a little bit about who Ann Washburn is. Well, this helps tell you a little about who I am. This is Fanny Hopewell. And Fanny Hopewell is my great-great-grandmother, okay? And she was one of the first people in my family line to come to America. She came to America from Denmark. And Fanny Hopewell, she had let's just say she had a rude awakening when she left Europe. When she left Europe and came to America, she married a pioneer, and he was a homesteader in Idaho. And it was a rude awakening to her. She had come from affluence in Europe. And here she was living in a little homestead in a little tiny town in Idaho. And that was really hard on her. And the way she responded to her life in this new world was less than stellar. She was somebody who complained a lot about it. She yelled a lot about it. She was always angry and bitter about her life here. Because if you think about it, she'd left Europe to get a better life. That's why a lot of people left Europe in those days. You'll see she was born in 1871. That a lot of people left Europe to get a better life. What they didn't realize is that that better life may not be for them. It may be for their great-great-grandkids. And so she did, so what we know about her from my dad's genealogy work, and this is my mom's great-grandmother, but my dad helped do the genealogy. What we know about her was that she was very bitter up till the very end. So that's part of my legacy. This is, so this is her daughter. So her daughter, so she's my great-grandmother. I think I said great-great-grandmother, but I meant great-grandmother. And so this is my grandmother. This was her daughter. And life for her was very hard because she was the daughter of this bitter person. And her mom would often get upset at her, get mad at her if she asked any questions. So she wasn't really allowed to ask questions. But one of her favorite things to talk about is that she was one of these people that if she wanted running water, she had to run with the bucket. That's the only way they had running water at their house, was to run with the bucket. So I love that about my grandma. And my grandma and my grandpa, so this is my grandpa. My grandpa was born in 1885. When my mom was born, he was 60 years old. And so I never knew him. He died before my mom got married. My grandma also, she was very old by the time I was born, because my mom was the youngest of all of the children. And my grandma here, she talks about how she had dreams, and her dreams were to leave Idaho and go to Utah and become a nurse. She wanted to be the first person in her family ever to graduate from school, any school, high school, college, but she wanted to go on to nursing school and she wanted to graduate. But instead, she ended up in California, where she married my grandfather, whose wife had just died, giving birth to their seventh child. And so she married him to take care of his children. And 20 years later, they had my mom. Well, my grandma had grown up very bitter, with a bitter mother, and she absorbed a lot of that bitterness. And so she was very frustrated with her life. Can you relate to this? This is the lineage I came from. And so my family line, and I could show you lots of them, were people who felt like they were in bondage and that they had no power over their life. They felt like there was nothing they could do to choose it, and that life kept happening to them. Well, along came my mom, and my mom was determined that she would do something different. And so she was the first one in her family ever to graduate from college. Oh, dang, I'm going to cry now. She was the first one ever to graduate from college. And so she refused to get married until she got her degree, so that she could have her maiden name on her diploma, because she was very proud of the fact that she was going to do things differently. Now, my mom had still grown up in an abusive environment. My dad grew up in foster care, and both of them, they didn't have a great background. And guess who they were practicing on doing things different? I am the oldest child. So here's me. I'm the oldest child of two people who have never been given any education on how to design their own lives. All they had was the desire to break the chain of the life they had been given. And so they were trying to do things different. And so I call me their oldest guinea pig. I was the guinea pig on how to do things differently. Thanks, Joanne. She says, your mom is beautiful and a great spirit. Thank you. I'm very, very proud of my parents. I call them my heroes because they are chain breakers of their family line. They're the chain breakers. And so I am the daughter of the first chain breakers. But the secret about the first chain breakers is they don't break the chains completely. Their kids get to also break some of the chain. They started it, but I got to help with that. So who of you are a chain breaker? I'll bet you that there's a few of you on here tonight that are also chain breakers in your family line, that you come from less than ideal circumstances, right? Yeah, Brittany says 100% a chain breaker. Dawn, I am a chain breaker. Yeah, look at all these people that raise their hand. We're chain breakers. We're chain breakers. Own it. And if your parents were chain breakers, hallelujah. Thank heavens that they are. But we get to also be chain breakers. And how do we know that? Because just look at our world. Just look at the crazy going on in our world. We are here to do as that quote says from Ender's Game. There's times when the world is rearranging itself. And would you agree with me that is one of the times is right now in history? The world is rearranging itself. Come on. Yeah, give me a raise a hand if you agree with me on that. I know you're like, really, Anne? This is like the 12th time. I know, but it's your chance to like step up and be part of what we're talking about. We are chain breakers. And that's why I do what I do. The reason I left the engineering world and became part of the mentoring coaching world is because I recognized as becoming a body language expert, I can see it out there. When I'm at the grocery store, I can watch the people ahead of me align and I see that which ones are chain breakers. And I see which ones still have chains. And you know what? There's a lot of chains going on. Yeah, Ashley, good on you. She says, my parents were not chain breakers. It's on me. And being willing to step up to that plate, Ashley, I honor you. I totally honor you. And thank you for being here tonight because that's who we are. That's who we are, is we're here to help in this time. We're on this planet. It's not an accident that you're here right now. You're here to be part of this rearrangement that's happening. And so when you step into the power of who you are, when you step into that power, you are improving the world around you. And so this, like he says right here, and at times like that, the right words, I would also say the right emotions can change the world and the right actions. So we want to understand all of those pieces. Yes, Brittany, can chain breakers be full of fear until they get in on the other side? Yes, the power of breaking chains, it can absolutely be scary. And I'm going to talk about that tonight because we want to be able to address that. All right, so I can tell I'm with other like-minded people. And so those are my favorite people to talk to. And so here's me now. So at our house, one of our favorite things to do is fire breathing. My daughter is a certified fire walk instructor, and she's also a certified fire breather instructor. And so she came and did a fire breathing event at my house. Shouldn't we all get together and have a fire breathing event? It just makes for great pictures. I love the pictures. So I'm a TEDx speaker. My TED Talk has had nearly 2 million views. Mechanical engineer. I've worked more than 11 years and 5,000 presentations in the psychology world, in the understanding and hacking who people are. I've been on TV. I'm a personal and group coach. I've worked with over 1,000 people live on stages in front of other people. Jane's like, yes, fire breathing. So in, love it, love it, love it. Okay, and here's some of the places that 3 Key Elements awards that they've gotten, and some of the places I've been on TV and recognitions. So there's a little bit about me. So tonight, I want to start with this. I want to start with the idea of what your comfort zone is, because I want you to understand why you have chains to break. You need to understand why you have chains to break. And so just quickly, because I've shown this picture before, I want you to understand that you have a comfort zone. And this comfort zone is there because as a human, we have a subconscious that its job is to keep us alive and comfortable. And when we're alive and comfortable, it feels safe. And so as children, though, we have no programming when we come. And so it's kind of like we're a brand new computer with no operating system. And that operating system comes in the form of experiences as we're growing up. Well, we are raised by parents and caregivers and teachers and neighbors and people around us who are all imperfect. They're not perfect. And so we pick up programs from our upbringing that our subconscious uses to cope with our world. Okay, did you hear that word? We cope with our world. We don't necessarily use that programming to thrive in our world. What it's done is those programs have kept us alive and comfortable, but they have not necessarily taught us to achieve our goals or to break through the negativity or to make more miracles in our lives. They haven't taught us how to do that, but they're comfortable. So I could have one of my past programmings that I got growing up was that I am in charge of everyone else's emotions. If anybody around me is unhappy, then I need to change until they are happy. Anybody else have that one? And so that is part of what I grew up with. And so I behaved in a way that made me responsible for everybody else's emotions. Now, that didn't make that a true principle, but it was comfortable because it was familiar. And so because it was comfortable and familiar, when I would leave that, I would step into fear. Okay, as soon as we do something new, we step into fear. And so if I would ever behave in a way that I wasn't responsible for other people's emotions, it was uncomfortable. And I would have doubts and comparisons and lack of self-confidence in that new behavior, which would cause me to run back to my old behavior. I would return to it because it was comfortable. And then I would take care of others' emotions again at the expense of myself. But the reality is, if we can push past that fear zone, we arrive at the learning and the growth zones. And those are freedom. Our comfort zone, it unfortunately is also a place of bondage. It's a self-chosen bondage. We will choose to return to it. And so there doesn't even have to be a lock and a key on this cell, on this jail cell that we're in, because we think our subconscious tries to convince us that it's safer and more in control. But it's not that it's out of control, it's just new. So you need to know this piece about yourself. And the problem is your subconscious is trying to protect you from things, but in its protecting you, in fact, I have one more picture I want to show you that's not in this slide deck. So let me get that here really quick so I can show it to you, because this is very valuable for understanding. Oh, shoot, not there. Hang on. This will be worth it. because it'll help things make sense. It'll help it make sense. Open, open, open. All right, I don't have it close at hand, apparently. So what happens is our subconscious is trying to protect us from things that will hurt us, but it also protects us from things that would grow us, things that would be good for us. And so since it's protecting us from all of those things, not just some of those things, we end up having this experience in our life. Okay, I found it. Here you go. We have this. Self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is how we end up back in our comfort zone. So we step out of our comfort zone. We step out. Come on. We step out of our comfort zone, and then we self-sabotage in order to go back to the feeling of safe and in control. But that self-sabotage acts like an umbrella that protects us from what we're afraid of. And those things are negativity, loss, toxic things, but it also causes us to be protected from our goals, the positivity, our health, our freedom, our relationships, time and power. So if we want to be able to remove this umbrella of self-sabotage, we have to recognize that we have to know how to get past the fear and into the learning. So that is what I call being able to face your future. When we can face our future, we can design it. We can design it. Unfortunately, most of the time, most people live in a way that they are facing their past. They are constantly looking at their past instead of their future. So today I want to talk about how to turn around and not fear our future, because there are very specific reasons that we fear that future. So let me tell you some more of this story about my airport experience. So when we pulled up to the airport, we had a lot of obstacles. I told you them, right? We didn't know how to get the heavy bags into the place to check the bags into the airplane. I didn't have a plane ticket. I left my ID in the car. We had not very much time to get onto the airplane. We had a lot of obstacles that were stacking up. And I think I counted up 17 obstacles that we encountered in that 1 hour period. 17 obstacles. I'm going to tell you about just a few of them. But every single one of those obstacles had an equal and opposite miraculous event that solved it. So let's start with pulling up to the airport, and we have these big bags. We pull them out and we don't know how to get them in. And usually the person that's patrolling the airport, have you been to the airport recently? They usually have to blow their whistle or yell at you and tell you, don't park here for more than 5 seconds. I don't know how many times I've had them get after me, and I was just dropping my husband off and trying to get out of there quickly. It's just the way they are. Well, this particular day, for some reason, there was a really friendly yellow coat is what we call them, really friendly yellow coat there. And she's like, oh, do you need help with those? I could help you. And we're like, wait, what? You could help us? And I'm like, well, for some reason, somebody had left a wheelchair on one of those airport wheelchairs. And I'm like, can we put the bags on there? And she's like, oh yeah, please use that. I would love for you to use that. And we're like, oh my gosh, here's this person that we expected to give us a hard time who's actually helping us. And so my husband's able to take the bags in. When I forgot to tell you that my husband, so this was, he had flown in to meet me here. And when he'd flown here, he'd left his phone at the previous airport. So he didn't have a cell phone. Have you tried to navigate our world without a cell phone? It's kind of crazy. So he had no cell phone. So once I dropped him off, I had no way of knowing how things were going. So I dropped him off and I go and park the car. And I get in the bus, I've left my ID, and I'm like, what do I do? And the bus driver's like, you'll just have to go around again. And I'm like, okay. But I said, but when we pulled up to the curb, I said, I'm going to jump out and see if my husband is at the place where we had arranged to meet, so I can tell him I'm going back. And I jump off the bus. He's not there. I jump back on the bus and go back to the car. When we arrive at the parking lot, the bus driver said it's a 15-minute round trip. It had been 10 minutes just for us to get back to the parking lot. So it was not a 15-minute round trip. But as we're there, I look out the window and there's a tow truck there. And the idea pops into my head, I should ask the tow truck driver if he could take me over to my car, because I'm at stop 1, my car is at stop 11, okay? And I asked the bus driver, can you wait for me for just a second while I ask the tow truck driver? And he's like, yeah, I don't think he'll be able to help you, but I'll wait. I'll let you ask. So I jump off and I ask, and the tow truck driver is like, well, let me call in and ask. And so he's going super slow. He's like getting his radio out, and he's like, well, there's some lady here that wants a ride to her car. And I'm looking at the bus. The whole bus is waiting for me. And this whole time, I just keep returning to a feeling of calm. I just feel calm. And I'm like, all right, well, it's just going to work the way it's working. It's just going to work the way it works, whether I get there or not. And so I wait. And finally he goes, yeah, I can take you. So I run back to the bus. I get my suitcase, and the bus driver's like, wow, cool. And I go get in the tow truck driver's truck. And he's just this laid back personality. And he takes a few minutes to get into the tow truck. And I'm like, okay, it's all right. I'm not like, hurry. I'm like, it's going to work the way it works. So he drives me to my car and he goes, hey, I could just take you all the way to the airport if you want, because look, the bus is still back there at stop 3. And I'm like, oh, would you? That would be fantastic. And I'm like, okay. So I jump out, I grab my ID, I get back in the car, and he drives me up to the airport. And my husband's at the place we agreed to meet, and we run in, and he's like, I got to tell you what happened at the check-in place. I'm trying to check the bags in, and he checked the first 3 into his ticket, but he had to check 1 into my ticket, and I wasn't there yet. And the lady's like, okay, it's all right. We'll check it in on her ticket. What's her ticket? And then there was no ticket. I didn't have a ticket. And they're like, oh, it was from yesterday. And they're like, the bag has to be checked in 1 minute or it can't go on the airplane. And now he's like, oh my gosh, how do I get my wife a ticket in 1 minute? And at that moment, the supervisor of the whole area walks up, and she overheard what this helper had said. And she goes, here, give me the number. Let me look it up. So she looks it up, and my husband says her eyes did this. And then she goes, I fixed it. And he's like, what was that about? And he goes, I looked up your flight. There was only 1 seat left on the whole flight. And she said, I was able to get it for her. You're all set. And she transferred my ticket from yesterday to today. I mean, come on, that's not how things work in our world. Usually everyone's like, no, can't help you, can't do anything. And this supervisor just typed it in and fixed it all. And I had a ticket. And I'm like, wow. So we go up to get in the check-in, right? Yes, this is all miracles. That's what I'm telling you, is all of this happened because I needed to learn how to teach miracles. I needed to know how to teach them. So I'm going to tell you 2 more, but there were 17. There were 17 of them. So we go up to go through security, and the security line is really long. It's super, super long. I know, right, Tammy? It was 17 miracles. It was my own personal 17 miracles. we go up to the security, and we have clear, where they can take a picture of your eyes to go through security. Because my husband flies every week, so he had it, and they gave him, just like the week before, they had given me a complimentary membership to Clear to go with his. And so we go up to Clear, and it won't read his eyes. It won't read his fingerprints. It won't read anything of his. And it's like, what in the world is going on here? It's not working. But mine worked. And so they're like, well, go ahead. And so I went on ahead, because we had 1 minute to be at the gate, 1 minute to get at the gate. So I go running over to the gate, and miracle number, I don't remember which one, they're late boarding. And so because they're late boarding, I don't have to worry about, I don't have to tell them, you got to hold the plane for my husband. They're late, so they're still boarding. Meanwhile, my husband at security, his baggage got randomly selected to go through his baggage, and he had to have a pat down. He's like, oh my gosh, what in the world is this? And meanwhile, he doesn't know that I'm up there, and because he doesn't have a phone, I can't text him and tell him. So I'm getting on the plane, and I don't even know if my husband's going to make it on the plane. And a minute after they let me on the plane, my husband was the last person on the plane. He got there at the exact moment that was perfect, so he could still get on the plane. So all of these miracles just lined up. But one of the most important things was that I, through the whole thing, felt like kept returning to the emotion, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And that the emotions that I was feeling were purposefully there so that I would understand the equation. I would understand the equation of the miracles. And so it was so profound, because I went through this whole thing. And then I started thinking about it. I started thinking about what I had learned. What did I learn from that? Because how do we usually respond? How do we usually respond at the first one? Like when because my husband landed the night before, I picked him up and found out he'd left his phone. So we didn't have a phone the next day. We didn't have one. And there were more miracles of how we got him a phone when we landed at the other end. We were able to get him a chip and a temporary phone. There were so many miracles. But how we usually respond to them is, how do you respond? Tell me in the comments. Give me a word. How do you respond when things go wrong? What do you do? My typical response, I'll tell you, but I want everybody on here, give me a word in the chat. Give me a word. Fear or frustration. Great. Heavy sighs, panic, resistance, anxious, anger lately, worry. Anybody ever yell? Anybody come unglued on customer service? I will admit I've done that in the past. Cry, yep, stomped. Woe is me. How about woe is me? Do you ever do that one? Quietly think about it. Yeah, but I bet you the thinking is like this on the inside. Stressed, hopeless, rude to others, right? Discouragement, withdrawn, all of these. I can talk. None of them are right or wrong. They're just our responses, but they're there to teach us something. Paralyzed. Oh, that's a good one, Lillian. Grumpy. I love it, Alyssa. Yeah, so they're there to teach us. But there's a lot of those things going on in our world right now. A lot that are trying to pull everybody down. Do you have any of these? In fact, I prepared, let's see if I can do this. I prepared a poll because I actually want you to participate in this. So I want you to read this. It wants to launch over there. Okay, I just launched it. I want you to go through and read these. Have you ever experienced any of these? because all of these are trying to pull you away from possible miracles. So read this. It says, do you spend more time fighting fires or designing your future? Pick all of the following that apply to you. Okay, so go through and click on them. And don't worry, nobody will see who answered it. We'll just get to see the total number of answers. So just read them and put your answers. Right, Brittany? So much of what I'm experiencing, she said. So those of you that are on YouTube, if you can't, I'm going to move this so you can see the answers. Here we go. Okay, I want everybody to get to see them. So here's all of the questions. Do you struggle to eat what you know you should? Are you frequently frustrated with other people's behavior? Do you wish you had more motivation and desire to move forward? Look at that, 79% of the people have said yes to that one. My life happens to me instead of me happening to my life. I procrastinate, 76%. I snap or yell more than I want to. I worry or fear about things more than 3 times a week. Right? I make excuses, blame, or justify my behavior more than twice a week. The bully in my brain is often louder than my own voice. My house, car, or schedule are cluttered or a mess. Okay? So all we're looking at here is these are things that are trying to keep you away from miracles. Because we live on a planet of opposition. There has to be opposition before a miracle can happen. Have you ever considered that? There has to be. Miracles don't come because there's no opposition. They come in response to the opposition. And our response to that opposition is a big determining factor of whether it becomes a miracle or just remains an opposition. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the poll open for 1 more minute. Everybody get in there and answer. About half the people have gone in and answered the questions, but just answer them. It's totally anonymous. It's totally anonymous. But that's the first thing that I learned through my experience at the airport, is that in order for miracles to happen, there has to be opposition. So you saw in your email to register for this that I have an equation for miracles. I have an equation for miracles. And the equation starts with the letter O. And so the O has to do with opposition. Opposition is the first step in the equation for miracles. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. Ready? Anybody else answering? I don't see any more answers happening. 55% of you answered them. Excellent. Okay, I'm ending the poll. Whoops. Could you guys see the answers? Could you see the answers? The way you answer them is you just click on it, that's you. There's a yes or a no. Okay. So here's the answers. Can you see those? Can you see them? So even if you didn't answer them, it's okay. It's okay. You will not be penalized. I just want you to get an idea that you're not the only one who struggles with these. Can you see it on my screen? Okay, good. So 58% struggle to eat what they know they should. 45% are frequently frustrated with other people's behavior. 72% wish they had more motivation and desire to move forward. What I'm showing you here is you're not alone. We're one of the tricks of our subconscious is to make us believe that we're the only one, but we're not. My life happens to me instead of me happening to my life, 39%. I procrastinate, 79%. I snap or yell more than I want to, 27%. I worry or fear about things more than 3 times a week, 48%. I make excuses, blame, or justify my behavior more than twice a week, 37%. The bully in my brain is often louder than my own voice, 39%. My house, car, or schedule are cluttered or a mess, 37%. So that's really powerful, you guys. That's really powerful to understand You're not alone. All of these things try to pull us down. They try to pull us away from that equation that is part of what brings us to miracles. So here's the equation. O is for opposition. Opposition, okay? And then we got to look at what is the F and what is the P, because that is what makes miracles happen. All right, so we're halfway through this webinar. Are you ready to start into the deep stuff? Because I have some new things to share that you haven't seen before that are going to blow your mind. They're going to blow your mind. So are you ready? If you're ready, raise your hand so I know you're ready. So what does ready mean? It means you're ready to look at things differently and you're ready to take some more notes. Okay. Half of you are ready. All right. That's awesome. Okay. So let's consider some new perspectives. So why did I need to have this experience? So let's start there. Why did I need to have this experience? Because I've chosen into being a coach. And I know that some of you that are on this webinar have also chosen into helping other people. If that's you, tell me in the chat or raise your hand and say, yeah, I'm somebody who has chosen into being a mentor or a trainer. Just so I can honor you for the path you've chosen. You don't have to be a mentor or a trainer, but I'm just curious how many are. Awesome. Love it. So welcome, and thank you for being those that help others. Because when you help somebody else, they then help somebody else, and then they help somebody else. So you are somebody who it ripples outwards. Okay, it ripples outwards, and it helps you to be able to help other people. I love that. Sherry says, yes, thanks to 3 key elements. Love it. So here I have chosen into that. You've chosen into that. Well, when you've chosen into that, it means you're going to go down a path where you make some mistakes and you figure some things out. And then you teach the people that you're mentoring, and they don't have to make the same mistakes. They can get to their goal faster. But sometimes what can happen is that when you choose into being a mentor, you do it because you're bypassing the step of working on yourself. And that is a very important, powerful step. We can't skip that step. And so I choose to always be learning from my own mistakes, but also learning from others' mistakes. So this is the path. This is the map that God has created. God created this. He created a world where we help each other, where we learn and then we teach somebody else. That's why we have this world that we have. That's why we have these computers. That's why we have houses with lights and running water. My grandmother didn't have running water. She didn't have running water because they hadn't figured that out yet. So every generation builds on the other. Well, nowadays things are moving faster than generational. You don't have to wait a whole generation for change to happen. Change is happening from year to year and month to month. And so we need to value the step of learning from somebody else's mistakes, learning from their mistakes, and taking our own new steps instead of making the same mistakes that they made. Does that make sense? So what I have recently learned is this. So this is an African proverb, and I love this. I've been recently, I constantly am studying. I've always got at least 3 or 4 books that I'm reading at a time, because I want to understand how people work. I'm a problem solver at heart. I am an engineer. So I want to know how you work. I want to know how I work, and I want to improve it. It's a spiritual gift, really, that we can all ask for, is to be able to have more discernment. Discernment is understanding how things work. That's really what it is. And I want more of that in my life. And so I'm always reading. And in one of the books I was reading, it was I don't remember which one it was, but several that I'm reading right now have to do with psychology. And they quoted this African proverb. They said, the enemy is none other than the other within. And that was a super powerful, interesting comment. And so I started paying attention to what would that mean? What would that mean that the enemy is none other than the other within? Because in church, we're also taught, love your enemy, right? And so, are they really mistakes? If you learn from them, well, it depends on what you want to call them, right, Craig? If you learn from them, then they're valuable, but they didn't go the way you expected. So we label that mistake. But if you want to call it something else, perfect. But I totally see where you're going. But see these two things, this really got my brain thinking. The enemy is none other than the other within, but I am supposed to love my enemy. So there's something inside of me that I'm supposed to love that I'm not loving. So now I'm like, well, what is that? What is that? Does this make any of the rest of you scratch your head? Maybe it was just for me. Maybe you already all know this. But the enemy is none other than the other within, and I'm supposed to love my enemy. So I have an enemy inside of me that I'm supposed to learn how to love. What in the world does that mean? And so where it got me thinking was this. So now get ready, put your snorkels on. Here's where we go into our deep dive. So that got me thinking. In my mentoring career, where I've mentored thousands of people, I do personal mentoring where people sign up to mentor with me for a year. And we meet together twice a month, and every day we're having contact in text or other ways. Brittany says, I've heard this, I just haven't figured it out yet. Yes. Okay, cool. Love it. And so I'm I just lost my train of thought. Come back, train. Let's see. I don't remember. It'll come back to me. So I'm thinking about this. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What's the piece in me that I'm supposed to love? Oh, I remember. And so in all my years of mentoring, I keep hearing the same kind of thing. People will come to me and they'll say, I'm broken. You need to fix me. Or my relationship is broken. We need to fix it. Or this other person is broken. How do I influence them? And I've always been trained to say, you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. And I realized recently, as I was considering this part about the enemy within, is that there's two different definitions of the word broken that we need to consider. One of those definitions is if something's broken, it means it doesn't work. So like if my toaster is broken and I plug it in, it won't heat. It doesn't do what it was designed to do, right? We know that version of broken. Well, what about this version of broken? What about this one? If you drop a mirror and it breaks into pieces, does it no longer work? Okay, I'm going to just twist your brain for a second. Does it no longer work? Because look, each of the pieces, they still function, but it's broken into pieces. And so I was like, oh, wait a second. Maybe what it is, because if people are going to keep saying that I'm broken and I need to be fixed and that, I'm like, there's something that they're relating to. There's something they're relating to. And what I realized is that what they're relating to is the feeling of shattered, not working, but the feeling of fragments or shards. So I'm going to call it fragments because in psychology, they call it fragments. And what happens is, as we're trying to make sense of our world as we're growing up, we actually break off personality pieces of ourselves that we don't approve of because they don't line up with making our world work. We can't cope with the adults in our life or the the mean kids in elementary school or the teacher, or we can't cope with them because because of some behavior that we have. And so we alienate that piece of ourselves and say, no, that's not who I am. And so now we have fragments inside of us. And those fragments, some of those fragments, we banish them. They aren't allowed to be part of who we are. And so we're trying to get rid of the fragments that don't match with who we want to be. Is this making sense? I was debating whether or not I could go this deep on a webinar, but I just feel like there's people on this webinar that need to hear this. They need to understand it, because this is something I've taught to my personal mentoring clients the last week, and it's very powerful. So stick with me on this. So I will take some of these pieces, some of these fragments, and I will push them away. And I'll say, no, that's not who I am. And the way you can recognize if you have any of those is that when you say, oh, no, that's not how I should think, or I'm not supposed to behave that way. Another place that you'll see this is when there's other people who drive you crazy and you're like, oh, I just don't like that person. Anybody have those people that you just don't like, or they bug you, or you wish they would change, or you think they need to be different? Anybody have those in their lives? I know I do. Well, those are people that what they're teaching you is that there is a piece of you that you have banished. You've told it it's not allowed to be part of you. And the problem is when we banish those fragments, we can't be whole. We can't be a whole, because each of those fragments is a piece of who we are. And when we banish them and we say things like, oh, that can't be who I am, and then we feel unaccepted. We feel unacceptable. Okay? Because I am not accepting a piece of myself. I feel unaccepted. And so what I do is I now look for acceptance outside of me. So I start changing who I am to get outside circumstances or people to accept me. So now I'm looking for acceptance outside of me. But the problem with outside acceptance is it isn't self-acceptance. It will never feel like self-acceptance. Outside acceptance will never feel like self-acceptance. It will never. And unfortunately, for me, it has taken me 25 years to figure that out, because we will never allow other people to love us or accept us more than we love or accept ourselves. The problem is we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to love and accept ourselves. And so the reason I say unfortunately for me is this has been really hard in my marriage. Good question. Ashley says, why would we accept something that isn't good or perfect if that's the direction we're headed? I'm glad you asked, because I'll cover that here in a moment. But my husband, he bless his heart, he's been just the perfect person for me to be married to, because he has always loved and accepted me. And I have always told him that he didn't. And the reason why is because I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel self-acceptance from his outside acceptance. And so I couldn't allow it. It butted heads. It didn't match my comfort zone. And so I would reject him because I couldn't accept me. So somebody on here is going to relate to this, even if it's not all of you, because I know I'm not the only one out there that has done this. And we don't allow ourselves to feel love and accepted. We can't, because it can't substitute for self-acceptance. It can't. And so let me give you a couple of examples. I know I told you this was going to be really deep. Marilyn's like, so deep. I know, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So you got to stick with me. And I'll bring us back up here in just a minute. And so I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out how to feel acceptance of myself when I'm looking for it outside of me. And since I'm looking outside of me, I can't feel it because it's not the outside of me that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the inside self-acceptance. So for example, I have many people that I personally mentor who are wanting to start their own mentoring business. And they recognize the value of having somebody, while they're starting their own business, having somebody that's helping them at the same time. We're all meant to get help from people ahead of us and help those behind us, whether it's children or family members or mentees or coachees. Yeah, we need to run a defrag program and reorganize ourselves. Absolutely. Yep. If you want to talk computer language, that's what we need. We're all fragmented. And so the fragments, since they're not accepted and they're not, like you said, Ashley, I think it was Ashley, they're not acceptable, we're not going to allow them into our space. So I'm mentoring somebody who has their own program. They have their own program set up and they've even done trainings before. And they're like, but why am I not attracting clients? I've got the program. Where are the clients? And so you that are mentee, or you that have chosen into being mentors, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, here's the material. Where's the people? And so I helped her see a fragment of herself that she had rejected. And it was this piece of her that she's like, oh my gosh, I'm in this because I want to be adored. I want to be recognized for my skills. I want people to think I'm really cool. And she's like, oh my gosh, I had totally rejected that piece of myself. And I'm like, yep. And until you receive that piece into yourself, you aren't a whole. You aren't whole. And until you're whole, you don't have that level of self-acceptance that you're really wanting. This right here, this is my Sunday journal. I have my during the week journal, and I have my Sunday journal. And when I was first uncovering this, I wrote in my Sunday journal, I said this. I said, because I was pondering, what is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of life in general? And I wrote this, I said, the purpose of life is acceptance or integration of all of those fragments of myself. When I can fully accept me, that's what it means to be acceptable before God. It's not that we're waiting for God to accept us or we're trying to do the things that make us acceptable. It's that I need to accept me. Because when I fully accept me, then, I had another African proverb and I forgot to write it on a slide. But the other African proverb said that when you have no enemy within, you will have no enemy without. And so what they're saying is that when you resolve the enemies within, you've befriended them, you've accepted them, no enemy outside of you can hurt you. That's what, I can't remember the exact wording of the proverb. But it's beautiful. Let's see if I can find it really fast and I can read it to you. When there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you. That's the African proverb. When there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for typing that. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking for, is to resolve those feelings, those fragments within us. And so there's pieces of us that we reject because it's how we coped with our life. So for example, if my dad was one of these people, he would come unglued if we were late for things. He did not like being late. And the older I got, the later I got. I would just get later and later and later. But but the angrier he got about it, the more I would reject that person of myself, and I would ignore it. And I would say, no, I'm not late. I'm always on time. Even though I noticed that I would still be late for things, and it would frustrate me because I would then say, no, that's not who I am. And I would try to push that part away. So we spend so much of our life trying to reject the pieces of ourselves that we don't like so that we can like what's left. But that's not how it works. We can't reject ourselves into acceptance. We can't. What we have to do instead is accept ourselves into acceptance. Could you finish the sentence? You interrupted yourself with the African proverb. The purpose of life is acceptance or integration of all those fragments. Oh yeah, I was reading to you out of my, thank you. I was reading to you out of my Sunday journal. So the purpose of life is the integration of all of those pieces, because when I can fully, so I didn't interrupt it, I was adding to it. Melody, thank you for asking. Oh, Melody, hi Melody, I know you. And so I'm adding to it is that when we resolve those is actually when we have a level of peace. That's when we access peace and we become the eye of the hurricane. All this crazy can be going on around us, and we know who we are. We know who we are. But the way, so the way it happens is this. I know I told you it was good and it was deep, and I haven't ever shared it before. So now we get to go back to Ender's Game. Okay, so I told you I would have a second quote from Ender's Game. So it's time to go back to that. In Ender's Game, if you don't know the book or the movie, what it is basically is it's a science fiction movie where they're talking about a future where an alien race has come and tried to end the human race. And they barely escape. And so now they spend 50 years trying to genetically engineer the perfect general for their army who will win against this enemy. And Ender is this perfect general. And he's a teenager in the book. And he makes this comment. He said, in the moment when I truly understand my enemy, I understand him well enough to defeat him. It is then in that very moment that I also love him. So I love this quote because think about what that's saying. It's saying that when we can understand our enemy, that's when we can love them. And what is love but acceptance? And what are we? And so what is the commandment? We're supposed to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, if we can love ourselves, now we can love people around us in their fragmented state. We can love them in their mistakes, in their journey, right? And I know, Ashley, stick with me. She goes, this message is for me. I still fear if I accept it, I'm tolerating it, and God doesn't tolerate sin. I know. But the cool thing is when we get through it, then we recognize that we're acceptable. Now we begin behaving more acceptable. And so I need to look at these individual fragments of myself. And in that moment that I understand the fragment, so like my mentee who was trying to understand this piece of her where she wanted to be adored and worshiped, that is a place where she gets to understand that. And when she can get to the place of loving that fragment, it becomes part of her whole. so now we are going to look at a different movie. So Peter Pan, and you don't have to read this slide. This is mostly a note for me. My husband, okay, let me read this comment really quick. Fragmenting is not always a result of sin, but of misunderstanding. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would say that most fragmenting comes out of trying to cope and be part of your world that makes sense. Because with all the people I work with, that's what I find is that when our past is, let me share my screen again. When our past is pulling on us too hard, what is going on when we're facing the past is because we're still trying to make sense of things that happen. We're still trying to change them. We still want to control past events. And I don't have time to go on this tangent for very long, but just for a second, is that our past, one of the reasons that we will hold on to the past is we want to hold other people accountable for the things that they did that hurt us. And so we won't let go of the past, and we won't look at the pieces of ourselves that we need to accept in that situation, because we're trying to hold on to the pain so that the person that caused the pain gets held responsible for the pain. But that's not how it works. That's not how it works. When we in Break Free Intensive, when I would teach this at Break Free Intensive, and I had people on stage that would bring this up, I would have them hold a rope, and I would have somebody else hold the other end of the rope, standing in for the person that had hurt them. And I said, okay, now you let go of your end of the rope. And they would let it go. And I would say, see, the other person still is tied to their end of the rope. They still have to decide what to do with their end. You letting go doesn't let them off the hook. It lets you access more trust that judgment can be left up to somebody who knows more than us. So if you've ever listened to my Perfection is a Direction CD, I talk about that forgiveness is not saying that what somebody did was okay. Forgiveness is us recognizing that we can let go of the emotion and leave the judgment up to somebody else. And so we don't have to continue to be hurt by it. So my son is in a play right now, and it's Neverland. So it's Peter Pan, right? And I went to a performance I went to the first performance on Tuesday. And in this performance, Tinkerbell is the narrator. She's the narrator for the play. And at one point she comes on the stage and she says, and I won't get it perfect because it was their practice performance and I couldn't understand every word. But she said, Peter Pan represents youth, beauty, and joy. And Hook is chasing youth. But Hook represents all of us, because Hook is also being chased by a crocodile that sounds like a clock. So we're chasing youth and beauty and joy, and Peter Pan represents that, and Hook is chasing him. So Peter Pan is youth, beauty, and joy. Captain Hook chases Peter Pan and runs from time. But time catches Hook. He got his hand bitten off. He has a hook there. And so we're all Captain Hook. And maybe everybody knew but me, but this was like mind-blowing for me when I heard this from these little teenagers on stage that are giving me a life lesson, because they're saying that we're all chasing youth and vitality, and we're being chased by time. And so we understand that our time here is limited. But our purpose here, and this is the other thing Tinkerbell says, is our purpose here is to embrace life and face fear head on while pursuing our dreams. Living in fear of doing everything wrong causes us to miss out on our life, and time catches us. Right. Okay, Brittany, you're starting to get it. Excellent. So what's going on is when we're living in a constant fear. So I think it was you, Ashley, that was saying, well, I don't want to embrace a piece of me that's negative. Well, what you want to do is heal it. And it can't heal until it's accepted. It can't heal until it's accepted. And so this is, so I'm thinking about this afterwards. I'm thinking about this after the play. And I'm like, oh, so our purpose here is to embrace. So I sent this to my son afterwards. Our purpose here is to embrace life and face fear head on while chasing our dreams, or pursuing our dreams. Sorry. So basically, the worst thing I can do is live my life in fear of doing things wrong. It causes me to miss out on life. Because if I'm a good person that's really trying to do good things, when I do something wrong, it's because I'm taking a step and I made a mistake. It's not because I'm purposely going out there and trying to do things wrong. So if I constantly live in fear, then I'm running from this crocodile that's trying to chase me, and I'm not embracing or receiving the joy that is available to me. I'm not embracing the happiness that is available to me. And so then this is the other thing I said to him. I said, if we reject or exile the fragments of ourselves and we treat them like enemies, but like in Ender's Game, if I fully understand that enemy or that piece of myself, then I can love it and it can heal and become part of me. When we understand a fragment, we love it and then it's accepted. So we aren't good or bad, we are accepted or unaccepted. Have you ever heard somebody say, if people really knew me, they wouldn't like me, or they wouldn't want to be around me if they really knew me? But the reality is, when we really know ourselves and we accept ourselves, now we're not looking for acceptance out there. We actually upgrade the vibration of the planet. We upgrade everything because we have an influence. Just like there's messages being sent out and they go through us, through the cell phone towers and the radio towers and the TV and the Wi-Fi. Just like those are always happening, we also, as humans, send off messages. We are electrical beings. We're electric. Every one of our cells has electrons. We have vibration to us. The definition of death is really when movement stops. So our body is constantly in motion. So we will send those messages out to other people. Okay, this is so deep. Is this making sense, you guys? Who needed to hear this tonight? Okay, there's at least 20 of you, so that's good. So me and those 20 people needed to hear this tonight. So what does that mean? That means that for miracles to happen, let's go back to miracles. That means that for miracles to happen, opposition, we have to take the fear off of the opposition. And how do we do that? We do that by accepting the pieces of ourself. Because when we haven't accepted the pieces of ourself, we live in constant fear of those pieces. And we're living in constant rejection of those pieces. When we quit fearing them, then we take the fear away from the opposition. And then the other thing that we have to do is upgrade I'll show you it now. We have to upgrade our perspectives. We have to give new meaning to the experiences that we've had in our life. We have to change our perspective. We have to see from a new angle. In my breakthrough coaching on Monday, I spent 2 hours teaching them how to do that, how to upgrade your perspectives of your stories. That, oh, I love that, Sherry. I love that title, Shame Resiliency. This is Shame Resiliency. And one of the things I talked to them about was how to understand what guilt is really trying to do. Guilt is meant to be a forward-facing emotion. But when we are constantly looking at our past, guilt turns into shame. And we want miracles to happen. So we need to recognize miracles don't happen without opposition. So when opposition happens, when an obstacle happens, so you could put obstacle for O as well. When an obstacle or an opposition happens, our response to it will determine if we're going to get a miracle or a default. And the miracles coming together, I witnessed so many miracles in just that one experience at the airport, or because I told you I kept returning to a place of peace. And the only reason I could do that is because I have worked on me. I have upgraded so many stories. I have changed so many perspectives, and I've helped so many other people do that I'm now open to miracles. And when I'm open to miracles, what does that mean? It means I can expect miracles to happen. When I know the equation, I can expect them to happen. So who wants to expect more miracles in their life? Raise your hand if you want to expect more miracles. Okay, good. I'm talking to the right people then. And so this is why I do what I do. This is why I taught the Break Free Intensive class for so long. This is why now in this world that we have, I've created the Breakthrough Coaching Program. And so let me just tell you about this really quick, why I do what I do. Because what breakthrough coaching is it takes my expertise as an engineer, my expertise as a body language expert, and even my expertise in my understanding of psychology. I do not have a psychology degree. I will tell you that right now. I don't have one. But man, have I studied psychology. I know a lot about how people work. And I know it through experience. I know it through personalizing maps for people to move them forward. In this notebook right here that I have this many pages. This notebook started on February 15th. So I started using this notebook on February 15th. You see all of those pages? That's probably 150 pages, front and back. Every one of them is a personalized map that I've done for helping somebody that I personally mentor. This is my mentoring notebook. And so in here, I write notes as I'm mentoring somebody, and I help them have a personalized map for being able to integrate themselves, to being able to accept themselves. Self-acceptance is the greatest thing you can do with your life. Self-acceptance, and then help the people around you do the same thing. Being able to accept those pieces of ourselves. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love all the comments you guys are putting in here. This is beautiful. And so in the breakthrough coaching, what my goal is to give you a personalized plan that takes you from bondage to freedom. That's what we're here for. But what we didn't recognize is what true bondage is. It's like that African proverb, when there's no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you. So true bondage is those enemies within. And so if this is true, oh, where's that slide? I'll find it. Here it is. The enemy is none other than the enemy within. Okay. Yes, Ashley. Oh, you're getting it. So that means the mistakes we made are so purposeful and necessary if we allow them to teach us. Yes, but what we usually do is reject them as evidence that that piece I've tried to push away is still here. And instead of pushing that evidence away, I want to receive that. I want to integrate it into who I am. So in the Breakthrough Coaching Program, it's a proven success formula for being able to accept ourselves, for being able to upgrade ourselves, to be able to change our relationships, because you are a piece of every one of your relationships. So this program is made for you, and it's made to help upgrade the vibration of the whole planet, because each and every one of you, as you upgrade you, will help and influence people around you to upgrade. It's a detailed plan with direction. There's accountability and team support. So the way it works is every Monday morning, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., so across the lunch hour, I do a 2-hour training / Q&A where you can ask me questions, where you can say, hey, I'm stuck right here, and I help you. And I help you with your plan to get out of that stuckness. And there's also pre-recorded modules. They're done at your own pace. They're available to you 24/7. And when you sign up for Breakthrough Coaching, you get what's called a member library. And in that member library is where you'll find these pre-recorded modules. There's also a section called bonus material. And in that bonus material, I have a training that I did where I teach you how to own your own identity, how to be solid on your identity. Do you think we're in a world where you need to know what your identity is? Because if you don't know it and choose it, the world will try to choose it for you. It will try to shame you into thinking that you've chosen wrong if you do choose it. So I have a training that I did on identity. Beyond that, I've spent 2 different trainings in the last 3 weeks where I've talked about miracles. And we only did the tip of the iceberg about miracles in this class. That's all we had time for. But when you sign up for Breakthrough Coaching, the first thing you want to do is you want to go into your member library and download the last 3 weeks classes, because Breakthrough Coaching is 14 weeks long. But when you join the class, the last 3 weeks are already in your member library. They're just a bonus. So that's like getting 3 extra weeks for free. Oh yeah, Jody, I absolutely loved Breakthrough Coaching. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Anybody who's been through Breakthrough Coaching, tell me in the comments so that other people can hear from you, not just from me. But that's the first thing I would do, is download those and listen with the new eyes and the new mindset that I've just given you, because I just expanded it, right, Jody? Did you learn new things today, Jody? I just expanded it, and you'll hear it completely differently when you go download those and listen to me talking and training about miracles. I give you different categories of miracles to pay attention to. I teach you how to notice the miracles and where to look for them. I teach you in ways that the feedback has been off the charts. I love that. Cindy says, Breakthrough Coaching makes Monday my favorite day. Yeah, Jody got the new pieces to upgrade. Diane says, I'm still there because Anne constantly upgrades her insights. Yeah, when I learn something new, the first place I'm going to go teach it is either in a personal mentoring appointment or Breakthrough Coaching. And so if time is chasing you, if that crocodile is after you, and maybe it's already gotten your hand or your foot, or you felt it take a chunk out of your rear end, then you want to make the next 14 weeks off the charts amazing. It will change your trajectory. It will change the place that because the next 14 weeks are going to happen regardless. They're going to happen. And so if you want them to happen in a new off the charts amazing way, then type this into your URL. 3ke.to/talk to Ann. Because in there, I want to have a phone call personally with you. So what'll happen is you'll book a phone call with me. So you type this in your URL, 3ke.to/talk to Ann. And then you'll go through and you'll answer a few questions. And those few questions are me mentoring you. The questions themselves are me mentoring you. Because I'm gonna ask you questions that's gonna get you to think. And you want to answer them really quickly. Don't think overly hard about them, because I only have so many slots available for people to talk to me. And I'm going to give you a bonus here in just a second for the first people that book their calls and register for breakthrough coaching. The first ones are going to get a special bonus that you don't want to miss out on. And so if what I've talked about today resonates with you, you've gotten a good sample of how I think through things, how I present things, how I solve problems. And it's not the typical way that people solve problems on the planet. So if you're ready for that upgrade, and don't minimize the idea of a coach. Because even if I coach so many people who are coaches themselves, and the reason I do it is because they're the smart coaches. They're the ones that want to move forward faster. Here's some testimonials from people that I mentor currently who are coaches themselves. And these are things that they sent me just this week. Things that because I asked them, I'm like, I'm going to do this webinar. What would you tell people if they're thinking about scheduling a phone call with me? And so this is what some of them have said. And these are people who are coaches. Like Lisa, she's a therapist that works with people in PTSD. Trista and Melanie, and Beth Ann, they all have their own coaching businesses. Amazing coaches. They help so many people. I love that, Marilyn. That's exciting. And here's some people also who these are people who are influential in other ways. They're not, their businesses are not coaching, but they're off the charts amazing in their own businesses. And so here's some things that they have said. I love this. Are you ready for a real breakthrough? That is what you'll experience working with Ann. Mentoring with Ann has been a life changer. Her skill set has helped my husband and I uncover blocks and wedges that have hindered our personal and relationship growth. And I noticed just while we've been on here, I've had some other people. I've received some other text messages from people I mentor saying, hey, here's what I would tell him. Here's what I would tell him. And so you are very wise. You are very wise to not only learn from your own mistakes, but learn from others' mistakes, because we are people who are meant to grow. We are on this planet at this time right now because we're in a planet that is in flux. We're in a planet that has these changes going on. The world is rearranging itself. The world is rearranging itself. I love this. Oh, I love it, Tammy. Love it, Marilyn. So cool. So if you've resonated with this and you want to understand this better, book a call. Answer the questions, because the questions that I ask are me mentoring you. You will be mentored just by answering the questions. And then on top of that, we will have a phone call together. And I tried to open up more slots than ever, because in the past, the phone calls have filled up and there was no more room. And I opened up more, but they're still limited. And the thing is the first 5 people who choose into breakthrough coaching, what I'm going to do for you is, let's see if I can find my screenshot. Oh, I can't. There it is. So the first 5 people, I'm going to give you where, not just one, I'm going to give you 2 one-on-one mentoring appointments with me. 2 of them. Now, if when people in the past, I had it so that people could just purchase a single mentoring appointment with me, and that was $900 per appointment. So that's an $1,800 gift, $1,800 gift that I'm going to give to you, right? Jody says there's so many bonuses. I know there's other bonuses I didn't even tell you about. But this is why you want to book a sooner time slot for your call, because when you book that and you register and you sign up for breakthrough coaching and changing your life over the next 14 weeks, and it's totally doable. You guys, it's so totally doable. When you do that, I am going to invest in you. You're having trouble? Okay, if you have any trouble with the link, then I'm also going to give you an email address. Oh, you got it working? Okay, cool. So if you have any trouble, just send a message in YouTube or in Zoom, and I'll give you an email address so that you can email the office. So we'll make sure that you get on the calendar, okay? So the first 5 people, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to invest in you, and I'm going to meet with you 2 times, just you and me, over Zoom for an hour each time. And I'm going to help you, just you, right there, make your own personal map forward. Because we're all individuals. We're all individuals. And as a behavior expert, I recognize and I honor those differences. I honor them, and I know how to help you see them in a way that will build you and get you past your blocks. Because here's, let's go back to this first slide. Here's what we're up against. We need to choose what we want. But once we've chosen it, there's this wall. And maybe it's time or money or people or events or words or stories or our past. Whatever it is, it feels bigger than our actions. And so what I'm going to do in your mentoring appointment is I'm going to help you build you. I'm going to show you what's missing so that you can be bigger than your wall. And then I'm going to give you new perspectives so that your wall can become smaller and smaller and smaller. And when your wall becomes smaller, what you want, you now have a direct line of sight to what you want. And you can get over the obstacle and get what you want. And every time, I'm going to say this, every time you accomplish a goal that you chose, you took the steps, and you followed through to accomplishing it, you just upgraded the vibration of this planet because you stepped into designing your life instead of just consuming it. So I gave you one equation tonight, but imagine if you had every equation at your disposal you needed for your exact issues. That's what it means to put your growth on fast forward. All right. So if you can't get the link to work, then the email address is support@3keyelements.com. Okay, there I typed it in the chat, support@3keyelements.com. Book the call. And if the call, let's see. Let me just look and see if there's any problem on my end. Okay, look at this. Here's a little miracle. I just found out a new thing I can do. This is a miracle happening right in front of your eyes. All right, this is cool. This is cool. Watch this happen, you guys. All right. So right here, whoops, let me do this. Okay. So there we go. Oh, come on. This is so cool. I'm really excited. What I just found out I can do is I can create a QR code, and you'll be able to get to the link from this QR code. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's see, I bet I can even make it bigger. Okay, somebody try this QR code and tell me if it works. This is so cool. Support at 3 key elements. You don't think that's enough? .com. Thanks, Brittany. Okay, support at 3 key elements.com. There you go. I finished it that time. 3 key elements.com. Okay, the QR code works. Cool. Okay, that's a miracle right there, you guys, because I never have seen that button in my links before. And so I don't know if it just appeared today, but look at that. There's a whole new way that you can access the book a call right there. Love it. Sweet. All right. So I'm going to put this, and this next to this. Okay, that was pretty cool to watch that happen. There you go. Book a call. Miracles are so awesome, and they lead to upgrades. Joe, I haven't seen you forever. Oh, Joe, if any of you have been in my group mentoring before and you want to do it again, I have an extra special deal for you. Book a call. Joe, book a call. You should come back. I promise. So Joe did my training a while ago, and you would love it. You would love it. So if any of you have been in my coaching before, book a call. I have a special comeback offer for you. Love this. Love this. Okay, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. Type them in the chat, or email the office, and they will also help you. But remember, we are here. We are here to upgrade ourselves. We're here to fully accept ourselves. We're meant to be miracle magnets. Miracle magnets is who we are, because all we've done is we flipped our magnet around backwards, and it keeps pushing the miracles away from us. It's time to get it flipped in the right direction and receive those miracles in your life. Okay, it's time to do it. So love it. Yep, we are miracle magnets. Okay, so book a call. Book a call. Your future you will thank you for taking this step. Thanks, you guys, for being here tonight, for spending these 2 hours of your valuable evening with me. It's so worth it. You are worth it. I love, love, love everybody that I see take a step forward. I know that that will influence others to feel like they can take a step forward. So my goal tonight was to, oh, that's right, Lillian, thank you. My goal tonight was to cause your brain, what I will give you that in just 1 second, Jill or Gina. My goal tonight was that the things I taught you, you're still going to be thinking about them tomorrow and the next day. So did that happen? Are you still going to be thinking about it? I hope so. All right. So here is your brain priming tool. And I use this at the end of every month. So because you stayed till the end, here is your brain priming tool. If you will take these questions at the end of your month or your year, but I would suggest every month, and you answer them, it will change the way you look at your world. It primes your brain for success. It primes your brain for miracles. Oh, those are great questions. Okay, Cameron, my helper in the background, I don't know the answers to this. Will they receive, I believe you're going to receive an email with a recording link that will be available for 3 days that you can share with other people. Cameron, if you'll tell me if I'm right or wrong on that, but I believe that the replay will be available for 3 days. Jolynn, were you able to get into the book a call when I did the QR code? If not, then use the email that I sent you, the email address, support@3keyelements.com. So let me know if you didn't, then I'm going to message you and I'll help you. Okay. So take a screenshot, take a screenshot of these powerful questions and then go answer them. So my last thing for you tonight is, remember, I said I wanted you to choose an action step that you would take. So tell me in the comments, what is the action that you're going to take because you were here tonight? I want to know what it was. Okay. So if you will please let me know, commit to it by typing it into the comments, type it into the chat, because when we take a new action, then what we've learned becomes part of us. It becomes part of us, and that's very helpful. Cool. Awesome. Accepting my broken pieces, watching the replay. Marin, I hope you'll book a call. I really want to talk to you. Share the light with everyone I'm in contact with. Love it, Cindy. Booking a call with Anne. Love it. Yes, register for your class so I can help the young single adults better. Let go of the rope. Oh, Lisa, that's good. Booking a call. Love it, you guys. Love it, love it, love it. Totally accept those broken pieces. Thank you for being here tonight. I just got this powerful, powerful feeling of how strong you guys are and how much opposition has been applied to you because you are worth opposing. You are worth it. And so thank you for being willing to take a new step forward. So amazing. All right, book that call, book that call. Put the questions back up. Yes, there you go, Melanie. Take a screenshot of those questions. Okay, there you go. Got a picture of a Melanie? Okay, Jolynn, what I want you to do is, you just open the camera on your phone. You open the camera. So I would open the camera on my phone, and then you just point it at this QR code. And it will come up with a button that you click, and it'll take you to the book a call page. And so try that for me. Try that for me. And if not, then I will have my team reach out to you and send you the link directly, Jolynn. Okay. Love it. Oh, thank you, Cameron. So this video will be available on the 3 Key Elements YouTube channel for 3 days. So that's how you see the replay. Thank you, Cameron, for that. I appreciate that. So go to the 3 Key Elements YouTube channel and you'll see this replay. Cool. All right, great questions, you guys. Great questions. All right, did that work for you, Jolynn? Were you able to get it to work on your camera? Love it. Okay, you guys are amazing. Thanks for taking a step forward. Thanks for spending time with me tonight. And I hope to see you somewhere again soon.